Usually when people think of low tricking on GBA Bowser's Castle 3, they think of these yellow ramps right here. However, there exists another ramp you can do a low trick off of as well, and it's this one right here. Normally when someone aims for this ramp, they trick straight off it, or in the case of the world record, add a ramp drift to reduce height. However, you can lower this trick by instead aiming for this corner edge right here. That being said, this low trick is different from the ones you usually see in the game. There's many ways to get low tricks in Mario Kart Wii. Sometimes you aim for the edge or backside of a trick ramp, such as these two on Coconut Mall. Sometimes you hop when on a ramp, like on Bowser's Castle 3. And sometimes you hop before a trickable surface, like these pillars on Dry Dry Ruins. And that same logic applies here too on Bowser's Castle 3. However, with something like the Dry Dry Ruins pillars, it doesn't matter if you delay the trick or not. In addition, it also doesn't matter if you wheelie up to them. You can still easily get the low trick if you hop at the right time. With this ramp on Bowser's Castle 3, whether or not you delay the trick or wheelie up to this ramp can make a big difference. If you wheelie up to it, hop, and delay the trick, you'll get the low airtime. However, if you wheelie up to it, clip the edge, and trick right away, you may go flying super high into the air, massively increasing your height. This is slower because getting airtime in most cases is slower, this being one of those examples. As you can see here in this comparison, the Funky Kong that did nothing special is already back on the ground. Meanwhile, the other Funky is still in the air. However, if you delay the trick an extra frame, you'll get airtime that's similar to going straight off the ramp. In my no shortcut task from 2013, this is what I did. I did this because it gave me a good enough height to make it onto the rail. But if you delay the trick another frame, the trick becomes super low, and tricking any frame after this makes it even lower. In order to get this weird trick physics to happen, the ramp needs to be some sort of flip trick, it needs to have some wall on the side or at least in front of you, you need to wheelie up to it, and you need to clip the edge in some way. This one ramp on a custom track called Aquadrome Stage is a good example of a ramp that has these kinds of physics. Per one of the requirements, there needs to be some sort of wall in front of you. In this one example right here, I am doing a wheelie up to the ramp, and by hopping right before it and not delaying the trick, I get tons of extra height. Delaying the trick one more frame gives you normal height, and delaying the trick any later gives you a super low one. Another example is the old version of Unnamed Valley. Here, I get a high trick, and here, I get a low one and then instantly die because it's too low. Oh, and just before that ramp exists another one. If you notice though, it's not on a corner edge. It's right in front of us. However, this low trick works because the ramp is short enough. If it was any longer, the low trick may not have worked. As you can see, no delay gives us a super high trick, one frame of delay gives us a lower trick, but not a super low one, and any more delay after that gives us a super low one. Another requirement, as far as I'm aware, is that it needs to be a flip trick ramp. Before I continue, just for anyone who doesn't know, there are 3 types of trick animations in this game. This is relevant for why I said it needs to be a flip trick ramp. Anyways, there are ones where your character does one flip, like at the end of Warrior's Gold Mine, or the first ramp on Rainbow Road. There are also ones where the character does 2 flips, like here on Maple Treeway, and the last ramp of Rainbow Road. And there are ones where your character will do no flip. Your character's vehicle will kinda just go to the side. And there are ones where your vehicle will kinda stay in place, and just your character will do some sort of fancy animation. Some examples include this ramp on Luigi Circuit, and the bouncy mushrooms on Mushroom Gorge. And lastly, these blue zippers can give you a single flip or a double flip trick, depending on how high you go off them. With that explanation out of the way, let's explain the next part of the requirement for this low trick, starting with this ramp on Moo Moo Meadows. Here, I hop just before the corner edge, and trick right away. However, I don't go flying into the air. Delaying a trick to the last frame lowers the height you get a little bit. This comparison between the 2 examples though show that there isn't a significant difference in height, as compared to the ramp on Bowser's Castle 3. Here's another example on an old version of DS Noko Noko Beach. In the left example, I don't delay the trick. On the right one though, I delay it to the last frame. As you can see, the airtime isn't significantly different. And if you're curious, being in a boost has no effect on this either. If I shroom just before this ramp, the trick height isn't massively increased. I mention this because flip trick ramps do have some sort of boost applied to them, as compared to a no flip trick. The difference seems to be if it's a flip trick ramp or not. If I go back to the BC3 ramp, if I shroom, hop, and then trick immediately, I still go flying. Meanwhile, if I delay the trick, I will go super low. In addition, you need to wheelie up to the ramp. For some reason, a wheelie makes a difference in the massive height you can get. If you drop your wheelie at least several frames before reaching the edge, even with a first frame trick, you do just a normal low one, and delaying the trick to the last frame will obviously make it lower. That being said, to do this low trick optimally, you would want to wheelie up to it, because being in a wheelie here is faster than not being in one. And lastly, you need to clip the edge in some way. If you see this bonking animation here, it means you clipped the ramp. For example, here on an old version of the custom track Delfino Island, you can bonk on the edge and get the high air. But on the newer version where this ramp was changed up, you don't end up clipping the edge, and even with a first frame trick, you still get the low air, similar to the pillow tricks on Dry Ruins. Going back to Unnamed Valley, getting that weird clip trick doesn't always happen. Here in these couple examples, I didn't bonk the edge, and while I did get a low trick, it wasn't as low as the one I got when I bonked on the ramp. With the first clip I showed on Bowser's Castle 3, you may have also noticed I didn't bonk the edge. I was able to get a low trick that even included a drift. To avoid the bonk animation, you need to get the low trick as far on the right corner as you can. If you're just a tiny bit more to the left than that, you'll end up bonking. And for the most part, if you attempt this low trick, you'll end up clipping in some way. And one last thing, if you're too far to the right, you won't get a trick or even a boost. You'll just clip the edge and nothing else will happen. This game is quite something. At the moment, the world record does not use this strategy. However, Akiza MK, also known as Kenny, has done some world record attempts going for this strategy and has set best known splits trying for it. As for how much this saves, it's a decent amount. In this comparison, the Ghost does the current world record strategy with a ramp drift, but by the time I finish clearing the turn, I have the Ghost off screen. This photo here using the rear view mirror shows just how far ahead I am. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe for more informative Mario Kart Wii content. Thank you for watching and have a lovely day.